Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into a really fascinating and kind of radical text from way back in 1925. It's Florence Scovel Shinn's The Game of Life and How to Play It. Self-published too.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a key text if you want to understand the roots of New Thought. Shinn basically lays out a rulebook for how thinking and visualizing shape your actual life. So if you're curious about that, well, our mission today is to unpack her specific rules. She wanted to turn life from a battle, as she put it, into the successful game that's, designed for you.
And right off the bat, the core rule, the absolute foundation of this whole game. It's ancient wisdom, really. Shinn grounds everything in spiritual law, specifically giving and receiving.
Exactly. It's that classic idea, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap, the law of the harvest. But Shinn makes it very mechanical, almost stark. If you put out hate, hate comes back. You lie, people lie to you. It's not random. It's like life is this perfect mirror reflecting exactly what you send out, your words, your thoughts, everything.
Okay, so if the world outside is just mirroring us, then the control panel, the place where we actually steer this game, it has to be inside, right? Our imagination. Shinn really emphasizes the power of what she calls the imaging faculty. Says it plays the leading part.
Yeah, she calls the imagination the scissors of the mind, which is such a great image. It's like it's constantly cutting out these mental pictures, and those pictures, well, they eventually show up in the real world. She quotes Proverbs, actually. Keep thy heart or imagination with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Yeah. Basically, the pictures you hold in your mind become the script.
And holding the wrong pictures. Well, that can be disastrous.
Yeah.
There's that really chilling example in the book about the man who was obsessed with a very rare disease. He kept picturing it, reading about it, just focusing all his energy on.
Until it manifested. He actually got the disease and died.
No.
Shinn's take was blunt. He was a victim of distorted imagination. So, to get control, you first have to understand how the mind works. She breaks it down into 3 departments. The whole know thyself idea.
Right. Let's start with the one we probably know best, the conscious mind.
Okay, so that's the everyday mortal mind. It sees life as it appears: sickness, poverty, problems, death. It takes things at face value and tends to accept limitations.
Then there's the big one, the powerful one, maybe the dangerous one, the subconscious mind.
Think of it like an engine room. It's pure raw power like steam or electricity, but it has no direction of its own. And here's the critical bit Shinn stresses. The subconscious has no sense of humor. None at all. It just carries out whatever you impress upon it, whatever you feel deeply or picture clearly. It does it without judgment, regardless of the havoc created.
Wow. That literal interpretation, that's where those anecdotes really hit home. Like the story of the woman who, when she was a kid, kept pretending she was a widow, even dressed up in black, apparently.
Yeah, she imprinted that image, that feeling of loss, really deeply. And then later in life, she got married and her husband died very shortly after. It's like the subconscious, having held on to that picture for so long, just delivered what it was programmed to expect. It's quite unsettling, really.
Definitely. So if the conscious mind watches and the subconscious powers everything, what was the third part? The superconscious mind.
Right, the superconscious. That's the God mind within you. It's the realm of perfect ideas, the divine design. It holds the blueprint for your true perfect life, your unique path, the thing only you can do, that destiny.
But often our conscious mind gets stuck on something less than that, right? Like a specific person or a specific outcome. I think that story about the law of substitution is really interesting here. It shows how the superconscious can kind of override things.
Exactly. There was a woman who came to Shinn absolutely fixated on marrying one particular man, A.B. Shinn knew she couldn't just force that specific outcome. So instead, she used an affirmation, spoke the word for the divine selection, the right partner, and pretty soon the woman met someone completely different who turned out to be her ideal match. The superconscious literally substituted the right idea for the wrong, limited one.
Which brings us to the active part. It's not just thinking. It's speaking. If this conscious takes images literally, it must do the same with words.
Absolutely. Shinn heavily references Jesus' teaching. By your words, you are justified, and by your words, you are condemned. She warns people are constantly joking or complaining themselves into bad situations because the subconscious takes every single idle word as a command. It doesn't filter.
Like that woman who was fed up with housework and kept saying, I'm sick and tired of things. I wish I lived in a trunk.
And later, she ended up poor, basically living out of a trunk, just like she'd said. Or the other woman who always joked about ending up in the poorhouse. And she nearly did. It's like these words become self-fulfilling prophecies because that subconscious engine just takes them and runs with them.
Okay, so if words have that much power, how do we use them constructively? How do we tap into the law of prosperity?
Well, the core idea is that God, or the universe, is the source of all supply. And you release that supply through your spoken word, but crucially, combined with perfect faith. Shinn teaches there's enough supply for every single demand, but you have to make that demand clearly and believe it without wavering.
Which leads to that famous story about acting rich. The woman needed $3,000, like immediately, to avoid a lawsuit. She was desperate.
Wow.
And Shinn tells her to affirm that the money is already hers, and then go order an expensive lunch.
Exactly. The instruction was literally to act rich, to behave as if the money was already there. The idea was to stamp the subconscious with the feeling, the reality of wealth and having received it, instead of panic and lack.
But wait a minute, isn't that kind of risky or delusional? If you're facing a lawsuit, spending money you don't have on a fancy lunch seems counterintuitive.
Shinn saw it as mental training. The outer action demonstrates the inner conviction to the subconscious. Ordering the lunch was the opposite signal to the fear she felt. And in that specific case, okay, the money didn't show up exactly by the deadline, but after more spiritual work, her cousin delivered the full $3,000 the very next morning. Shinn's point was, the supply was always there, the timing just shifted slightly. God is never too late.
So it's definitely not passive wishing. It demands what she called active faith. You have to actually prepare for the good thing you've asked for, even if you can't see it yet.
That's the whole digging ditches concept. She refers to that biblical story, where the prophet Elisha tells the kings to dig trenches in the dry valley to prepare for water, even though there wasn't a cloud in the sky. You have to create the space, the capacity to actually receive the good you've demanded.
So it's like you're treating your desire like a real project that needs groundwork, like that woman looking for an apartment when there was a huge shortage.
Right. Everyone said impossible, but she just declared, I'm a Superman and I'll get an apartment. And then she dug her ditches. How? By buying blankets for the apartment she didn't have yet. That physical act, that preparation, it convinced her subconscious that the apartment was a done deal. And apparently, one manifested for her miraculously, against all odds.
Okay, so once we get a handle on the power of our mind and our words, the main obstacle left in this game seems to be internal. It's fear.
Yeah, fear is the big one. Shinn calls it inverted faith. It's basically faith, but turned upside down, believing in bad outcomes instead of good ones. The goal is to train your mind to only see your good clearly and to just obliterate the mental pictures of evil or failure. She tells a story about a man who instantly got over his fear just by reading a sign that said, "Why worry? It will probably never happen." That simple phrase just stamped his subconscious with a new belief.
And what about when you face actual problems or difficult people? Shinn's advice is pretty radical there, too. Non-resistance. Resist, not evil.
Yeah, that's a tough one for many people. Resistance, she argues, is hell. It's torment. She makes this bold claim that nothing and no one can actually resist a person who is absolutely non-resistant anyway. Her teachers even suggested this technique. If something looks like a failure, you deliberately give it the name success. You baptize every event success to instantly change its nature, to transmute it.
Baptizing failure as success. Wow. That's some serious mental reframing. And the anecdotes about how fear physically manifests or disappears, like the one about the ladder.
Oh, right. The friend who was terrified of walking under ladders because she believed in two powers, good and evil fighting it out. When she finally decided, okay, I'm going to face this, and went to walk under a ladder she knew was always leaning against her bank, she got there, and the ladder was just gone. Shinn's interpretation. Her fear had attracted the ladder. That's the problem. Her fearlessness removed it.
So non-resistance and fearless faith. They seem to lead directly to the ultimate strategy for winning this game, the law of love and forgiveness. Shinn connects violating this law directly to sickness and unhappiness.
She does. She makes really specific links, like constant criticism can lead to rheumatism. False growth, she believed, were caused by jealousy, hatred, unforgiveness, and she singled out unforgiveness as maybe the biggest single cause of disease.
Which brings us to that incredible healing story, the woman with the terrible skin disease, supposedly incurable. She'd lost her job because someone in the cast was jealous, and she just worked intensely for days on letting go of the hatred she felt.
Yes, just focusing mentally, crying out at God, don't let me hate that man, working purely on her inner state. And on the third day, her skin was completely healed. Shinn's conclusion, love and goodwill win every trick in the game because they fulfill the fundamental law.
This also touches on something important in New Thought, this idea of the law of grace.
Right. Shinn positions the law of grace, which is basically forgiveness, as being higher than the law of karma, the simple cause and effect law. The idea is that the Christ within, that divine part of you, can redeem you from past mistakes or negative karma. Through forgiveness and love, you can be freed from the consequences rather than having to just mechanically suffer them.
Okay, so if we've worked on our inner state, faith, non-resistance, love, what's the next practical step in playing the game? How do we know what move to make?
Through intuition, that inner knowing, that hunch. Shinn says it's your unerring guide being taught from within. Once you've made your demand, spoken your word for supply, for instance, you then need to ask for and expect a definite lead. Like the woman who asked for a lead about money and immediately got the strong feeling to give a friend $100. That act of giving, following the lead, opened the way for a huge financial return shortly after.
That's so interesting that guidance might tell you to do something that seems totally illogical, like giving money away when you need it.
Or like the other woman trying to decide between 3 job offers. She couldn't figure it out rationally. Then she woke up one morning and could literally, distinctly smell Palm Beach. That sensory signal was her unmistakable lead, telling her which job path was right.
And the ultimate destination this guidance is leading us towards is that divine design, right? Which she sums up neatly as the square of life.
Yeah. Health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Finding that unique place only you can fill.
But to get there, she had a practical point. You have to finish things.
Yes, she noticed this pattern. If you constantly leave things half done, your subconscious picks up that habit of not completing. Remember the student whose money wasn't manifesting? She suddenly realized she'd left some sewing unfinished. She went home, finished it right away, and almost immediately the money situation resolved itself. Her husband got paid twice, she said, in a most curious manner. Completion matters.
And one last really practical tip, especially for when your own belief wobbles, the power of agreement.
Right, because it's hard to hold a perfect vision for yourself sometimes. You get too close to it, too caught up in doubts. So having someone else, a friend, a practitioner, agree with you, hold that successful vision for you, that helps solidify it. Shinn quotes an observer who said, "No man can fail if one person sees him successful." That shared belief strengthens the impression on the subconscious.
It really is a complete system, isn't it? Though quite demanding. Shinn basically boils winning the game of life down to 3 things: fearless faith, non-resistance, and love.
But she takes it one step further to the most radical claim in the whole book. It's her ultimate proof, really, of mind over matter. Shinn actually suggests that through scientific conviction, you can overcome death itself.
Overcome death, really? What did she mean by the body electric?
She genuinely believed that if you continuously, persistently stamped your subconscious mind with the conviction of eternal youth and eternal life, your mind could actually transmute your physical body, transform it into this radiant, incorruptible body electric. It's not just a metaphor for her, it's the ultimate implication. Our mental pictures dictate all our physical boundaries, even something as fundamental as mortality.
It is. Well, that's a staggering thought.
Yeah.
It pushes the mind over matter idea to its absolute extreme. So if Shinn believed your subconscious could overcome even death, what limits, financial, physical, whatever, are you maybe accepting right now simply because you haven't given your mind a new, more perfect picture to work with?
Yeah, definitely something to think about as you step back into your own game.